hey, that's your final answer?
Well, it's in the news internationally, not just nationally. And I find it a distressing commentary on America that a week later, again, as you mentioned, we delayed last week's Saving America broadcast to Wednesday, hoping we'd have a little clarity. And things are, if anything, worse today than they were on Wednesday of last week. And it is a very troubling time in America. In fact, I've been pondering on this. And, you know, we have been very critical of countries like Venezuela and Russia that have had very strange election outcomes. And, you know, as you know, in Venezuela, supposedly the pro-democracy candidate won the presidential election, you know, two and a half years ago. And the previous president refused to yield and, in fact, has jailed a lot of supporters of the guy who supposedly won. The United States recognized the person who they claim won, the pro-democracy candidate. And sadly, we are beginning to look more and more like Venezuela. And of course, a lot of the principles behind my book, The Decline of America, is the failure of our bureaucratic state. And nothing could be more clearly definitive about the failure of our bureaucratic state than the fact that they can't conduct a damn presidential election without this type of fraud, failed administration issues across the board, from simple delivery of the mail, which we've been doing since Ben Franklin's time. Ben Franklin credited with starting the U.S. Postal Service, to the present. We've been running elections since the time of George Washington, and it is a very distressing situation in America to see how fouled up things are. And so there are people that are pushing Trump to concede. I am certainly not one of them. I do not believe that Trump went from 600,000 votes ahead in Pennsylvania to behind after a big batch of absentee ballots showed up. And when people actively prevented election observers from watching those ballots being counted, somewhere they had actually put paper on the windows. So not only did they not let people in the room, but they taped paper over the windows so that people could not look in there. Now, if that doesn't spell F-R-A-U-D, I don't know what other spelling there is for the word fraud. And it is a clearly distressing situation. What I found hilarious was commentary by that well-known, well-qualified political commentator, comedian Whoopi Goldberg, who apparently said either last night or this morning that the people supporting Trump need to suck it up. After all we did 4 years ago, was her statement. And actually they didn't. They contested the election. The Clintonites went crazy. They launched the totally bogus Russia investigation. They launched a totally bogus impeachment. And they think that the people supporting Trump should just suck it up. I don't think so. In fact, I think that would be very damaging, because if it happens this time with an activist president like Trump, what will happen in the future if we do not get to the bottom of it? One of my biggest concerns is I would like to see the federal government. I'd like to see this stop being a state issue. I don't think it's a state issue anymore. It's to determine who's going to be the president of the United States, an international figure. And I think the FBI should be in every state where there's a concern. and that there should be extensive investigations. And I want to see arrests. I want to see people. I mean, we've caught people attempting to dump ballots. We've caught people attempting to change ballots. I want these people prosecuted. I want them made an example of, so that we can have integrity again in our election system. And we at present do not have a final election that has integrity. And I think that's a very distressing outcome. The latest information is that there will be challenges to the votes in at least 10 states. That began yesterday. The Republican Party is on a separate fundraising mission, and I think it's going to be very interesting. Donald Trump has certainly not conceded, nor is he legally required to, by the way. And so it's going to be very interesting to see what happens over the next 2 or 3 weeks. And I do think it's going to end up in the federal courts, remembering that the federal courts are pretty heavily Republican dominated. The higher the level you go, the more Republican domination there is. But I think this is more factual than legal. I think, when you go out, supposedly, when you have this avalanche of late and absentee ballots show up, and every single one of them is for Biden, I don't believe that. I don't think any reasonable person of any political persuasion believes that if you found a batch of 100,000 ballots, that every single one of them would be for one candidate. If they are, it's been manufactured somewhere. That's not a representation. Remember that the electoral vote presently stands at over 70 million votes for each Biden and Trump, over 70 million votes each. Clearly, if you were counting 100,000 ballots, it should be pretty close to 50-50. People are saying, oh no, the Democrats really went after mail-in ballots. A lot of elderly people supported Trump, and a lot of elderly people had no intention of going to the polls because of concerns about COVID-19. And I think a lot of them voted absentee. But in any event, so that's what's in the news, and it'll be interesting to see what happens next. And we did want to mention before we go today that I will be returning 1 o'clock on Saturday of the big shopping weekend, Thanksgiving weekend, the Black Friday weekend, and we'll be coming back on Saturday to do a special on small business.
Yes, I want to make sure we talk about that. So if you're interested in getting more information, please put your email address in the comments, or just put in there you're interested in more information. David is, as we said earlier, he is his company is Claremont Management Group. He is a small business consultant, a small business support. He does a lot with small business in the city of Houston, and he's also on the board of one of our largest chambers, the Heights Chamber. So what we've asked David to do on November 28th, which is Small Business Saturday, American Express sponsors the entire day. You'll be hearing a lot more from it. David's going to be doing a webinar at 1 o'clock Central Time for small businesses. And we'll give you more details as the month unfolds. Just want to let you know, to mark it on your calendar, 1 p.m., November 28th, and that's 1 p.m. Central Time. So 2 o'clock Eastern, 11 o'clock Pacific. So, and then 12 Mountain. That's all of the time zones in our country. So we look forward to it. Again, if you have any questions, if there's anything specific you want to make sure he covers for small businesses, then you can let us know that in the comments as well. So thank you for joining us today. Thank you, David. Remember to get your copy. Makes a great Christmas gift. Election's over as far as our part of it. So no more reading it to see who to vote for. However, make a great gift for that person on your list that is interested in the state of our country and what's gone on, for a person that's a historian are interested in history would love to read the book. So thank you again, David. This has been a great morning. Lots of great, for us, it's great stuff to talk about anyway. So not exactly the greatest thing to experience, but it is fun to talk about. So thank you for being here and for all your insight into what's going on in our country. And we'll see you back again next Tuesday at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you so much.